Arrested 2 people after a car drove into a crowd in Melbourne. We'll bring you this and more here on Midday Live. My name is Alfred Okansi. To our first story this afternoon, the Trade and Industry Minister, Alan Kojo-Chemantin, has responded to summons to explain his ministry's role in the organization of the Ghana Expatriate Awards. The Millennium Foundation is, however, offering a public explanation of the controversy, which a minority NDC is bent on instigating a parliamentary probe. President of the foundation, Ashimotin, said different categories of sponsorship determined the sitting arrangement, a common practice in the event organizing industry. In the Ghana Expatriate Awards, the levels of sponsorship included red circle, yellow, green, black, and presidential circles. It also had the president's gold table reserved for persons carefully selected by the foundation and the Ministry of Trade. Such distinguished persons could be expatriates or Ghanaian and did not have to sponsor the event to secure a seat there. All right, so let's take a listen to the Millennium Excellence Foundation, which is rejecting claims its sole seats to expatriates willing to pay as much as $100,000 to sit close to the president at the awards dinner. The event organizers, which partnered the Trade Ministry to organize the Ghana Expatriates Business Awards, stressed at a press conference Wednesday no one paid $100,000 to sit close to the president before that event. Ashimotin is the president of the Millennium Excellence Foundation.
Indeed, nobody was told to pay $100,000 to sit next to the president. We only found out that the president was coming to that event on the day that he returned from Kumasi. And I had to relinquish my seat. Said Factory sat next to the president of the Republic of Ghana on that day. He was supposed to sit next to me. I've known Said Factory for the past 20 years. He has supported my initiatives. He has done a lot for Ghana. He has created the enabling environment for thousands of Ghanaians to work. It was my choice why Said Factory should sit next to me. So that is why he sat on that table. And Said Factory did not pay $100,000 before that event. If he decided to support the foundation later on because of the world-class event that we organized that evening, that was his prerogative. But he did not pay $1 before that event. So this should clarify the issues, and I've read somewhere on the social media that Said Factory paid $100,000 to be seated next to the president. I would want to carefully inform our general public and well-wishers that the office of the president cannot be toyed with. You cannot come out and say that people paid money to sit next to me. You cannot do that. You need to have the facts before you speak. This sponsorship package was designed by the foundation and not by the Ministry of Trade and Industry. And if you look at the part that says $100,000, it says that any company that pays $100,000 will have one of their representatives to come and sit on that table. I am here to tell you all that nobody paid $100,000 to sit on that table that evening. So if that should clarify the air about that, that is it. What I know is that some funds were released to the foundation to organize the Expatriate Awards, and thereafter some additional funds were given to us for post-events. I don't know whether those funds were complete. What I also know is that a portion of the funds that were raised by the foundation would be retained by the Ministry of Trade and Industry for further initiatives under the Ghana Expatriate Business Awards. We raised money not to burden the taxpayer of this country. these were monies raised from ordinary citizens of this country or expatriates who believed in the cause of the initiative. And so it is true that some monies have been received to organize the event and post-event activities and so on. And we're still making some payments, but I'm not sure whether everything has been paid. We will release that information to you when we get that information. So.
Okay, so let's just say a bit further with this particular issue, because the managing director of Japan Motors Trading Company Limited, Salem Kalmoni, has said that he didn't pay any money to sit at the high table together with President Akufo-Addo at the recently held award ceremony.
There are other awards, you know, there are so many awards out there, and even you could always, by knowing who got awarded, know, geez, why did this person win it? I don't think he deserved it, and you could see that there's something under, there's some politics or this. In this case, just by analyzing who got the award, I think most people would agree that they were deserving.
Did you make any donations before or after the program?
I did not make absolutely no donations, nothing before and nothing after.
So you simply were selected to sit on that seat?
Exactly.
So did you make any contributions at all?
I did not make any contributions at all. Okay.
Whether
I'll tell you
others
what
did.
happened though, to set the record straight, after we were selected, okay, for this, and I had my invitation and a seat on the table, you know, I thought, I'm there alone. I wanted to celebrate this event and bring, you know, some of my directors, my wife, to be along. So I did purchase, okay, I mean, and for that, you had to pay for a table. And I chose voluntarily to, you know, to enjoy, you wanted to enjoy something with your family and with your directors here. It's certainly not. It's certainly not. Okay. I'll tell you, it was a table of 5. You could see a table of 5, how much it cost there on the sheet there, and it was a fraction of it. It was a fraction for it. And it was for them coming in, it was after the fact, because I wanted to celebrate this honor, you know, with my directors and shareholders.
Well, so explanations have been offered, and indeed some questions raised about how exactly this took place. Now, we're going to connect with Skype now, and Adam Solano is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, and he's been very heavy on this matter. Mr. Solano, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. With the explanations of the Millennium Excellence Foundation and then some of the persons who supposedly paid this money, does it give you clarity, or it raises more questions about exactly what could have happened?
Well, good afternoon. And yes, they have given some explanations, but there is no clarity. There's absolutely no clarity. One of the things that is very intriguing is that, was the presidency aware that some kind of sponsorship in relation to having access to the presidency was being discussed, and that some monies have changed, paid into the coffers of a government entity and then moved from there to a private entity? There's so much that has gone wrong in this particular instance that we don't have clarity. There ought to be a full-scale investigation to establish what exactly transpired. Not so much because we want to, as it were, point fingers, but we've had so much of this happening recently that we ought to set the right precedents from this point. Otherwise, we are likely to have several more of these instances happening in the future.
You know, in the letter making the rounds, there's a mention about if you pay 100,000, you're going to enjoy exclusive engagement with the president at the president's gold table. Now, Ashley Martin said that that president referred to in that letter is him, the president of the foundation, not President Akufo-Addo. You know, and then the trade ministry, I recall yesterday, the deputy trade minister said that the trade ministry did not keep even a dime of the money that they collected on behalf of the foundation. Now, the foundation at the press conference yesterday said, look, some portion of the money is kept by the trade ministry to advance events of expatriates in the country. I mean, would you be caught in that web of contradiction, or we are the ones who don't understand this?
No, absolutely. There have been several contradictions. It's so glaring. I think that somebody just needs to stop all the communication, sit down, get their facts together, and just come clean. It is clear that the type of briefing, either the officers have not taken the briefing on conflict of interest and the Code of Public Officers Conduct, taking it seriously, or else this was something where they contrived to try and make money. And it ought to be fully investigated so we have clarity on what exactly happened. This should not have happened at all. It should not have happened.
If you talk about full investigation, the president queried the trade and industry minister. We are aware that he has responded. I mean, Alan Kyerematen has responded to the query. We don't know the details of the responses yet. I mean, beyond this query, what kind of full-scale investigation are you looking for it to be instituted in this matter?
Well, one needs to understand the genesis of this idea. This morning I heard on Joy FM another individual stating that he wrote that proposal in 2009 and they frustrated him, and now they took it and did it themselves, and his glad egg has come on their face. We need to understand, how was this idea conceptualized? Was it supposed to be a private sector thing entirely, or a government thing? What was the intended purpose? Why is it that the government got itself involved in collecting monies that passed through an account and then went to a private sector entity? Is it of a fact that the money was entirely supposed to go to the private entity? Have any of the officials, as it were, abused the power entrusted to them for personal or private gains through this process? There are questions we need to answer. And honestly speaking, it's not the minister's response per se that can give us full disclosure and confidence that we have all sides of what exactly transpired. So a full-scale investigation, I would go for charge. I think that they are vested with authority and they could have an interest that will provide us with the kind of information that will give us confidence. At the same time, if Parliament is still, as it were, minded to ensure that they do their own investigation, that would allow us a lot of coverage on this issue.
So, I mean, with Shraj, someone has to petition Shraj about this matter before they get in, or they can actually, step in without any form of petition, Mr. Sano.
Somebody has to raise it with Shraj. And especially with the contradictions that have been, as we put out in the public space, that makes it all the more necessary that we get an independent entity that can look at this closely and give us the true facts of what actually transpired. But
we should get to know Alan Kyerematen's response, you say?
Oh, yes. The presidency should give us, I mean, it's abundantly clear that the president was not aware of what was happening. And that is frightening, to think that people can begin to use the presidency and come up with schemes. It is very dangerous. So we need to know exactly what the minister is saying.
Right.
Happened under his watch.
Great. Solano, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I'm grateful. Adam Solano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, an anti-corruption organization, talking there about this developing story that takes very different sides and also a lot of revelations coming up. We're keeping a keen eye on this particular story, and we'll definitely bring you a lot more detail as it comes through here on TV3. But one person has been rushed to the hospital after security, the NPP headquarters, physically assaulted a member of the party during a demonstration here in Accra. The Elembele New Patriotic Party member attempted to assist a journalist who was being attacked by the security guards, but was rather bitten by security men present at the NPP headquarters. Members of the NPP Elembele constituency were at the headquarters in Accra to express their displeasure over the ongoing constituency registration process, which they believe is being manipulated by the constituency chairman and the acting national chairman of the party, Freddie Blay. According to the aggrieved members of the party, the constituency chairman is enlisting only his favorites onto the register and inappropriately assigning A4 sheets for other members to register, which they say is illegal. Seeing the media at the scene, as you can see on your screens right now, the security guards at the headquarters got angry and questioned why the members invited the media. The cameraman for TV3 was physically assaulted by one of the guards for taking shots of the demonstration. They again attacked another journalist who was taking photos with her phone, but the intervention of one of the demonstrators landed him on the ground and was quickly rushed to the hospital. So that's what you see on your screens right now. The Lembele constituency members of the New Patriotic Party who stormed the party's headquarters early today, demonstrating, raising some questions about the registration process ongoing in the constituency. They are alleging, and indeed they are actually accusing Freddie Blay for being behind or manipulating the whole process. Well, I've been joined in studio by Godfred Tadam. He was there at the NPP headquarters, and it's good to have you, Godfred. These are the hazards of the job. You were assaulted by these demonstrators. Yeah. How did it happen and why? And your cameraman too.
He was physically hit by one of the security guards, and then one took our car keys. I didn't see that, and the driver came to me that he's taking our car key.
He took
the car
keys for
yes,
what? Because
we're foremen, so we should delete the visuals before we get the car keys back. So I followed him. I said, he cannot do that. Give us the key. He said we should delete it. So we entered the headquarters, the premises. Then one guy came and said he's the administrator. So what am I doing here? I'm not invited, so I should leave. I said, I want my key. I need to get my key before I leave here.
Every activity around the political party is public information because it is not just a property of one person. I mean, if they are doing having a demonstration in public and they don't want us to come and do it and take a shots of it. So what did the NPP, did you see any officials there?
No official was there. Nobody came out to find out whatever was happening. It was only the security guards who were, and then one, the Ghana web cameraman was hit. He was actually bleeding from the mouth.
By the demonstrators?
Yes, because he was taking shots. No, not the demonstrators, the security guards.
The security guards
there at the NPP headquarters hit him and he was bleeding from the mouth.
Because he was taking shots?
Because he was taking shots.
And what were the demonstrators doing at the point?
You know, that was when there's this lady who was also taking with her phone, a journalist. Then the guy took a stone. Then he was going to hit her. Then one of the demonstrators said, no, I'm not going to allow you. So he took the stone from him. Then he slapped him. Then he fell.
So he was the one who was rushed to the hospital?
Yes, he was the one who was rushed to the hospital. So before I entered, I spoke with the reporter of Ghana Web, and he told me that they are at the nearest police station right now. From there, they will move to the hospital to check on the cameraman.
And the cameraman was hit?
He was hit.
And he was bleeding from the nose?
Yes. Because of the weight, we couldn't really capture that on tape because our cameraman, because he was also hit, was there, and the one guy came that he should enter to the car. I said, no, you can't tell the cameraman to enter to the car.
And the security at the NPP headquarters, who were supposed to be rather protecting you, were the ones
There were even policemen there. One policeman approached me, that what is the problem? I said, he has taken our key. That, oh, he doesn't know that you are a journalist. That's what the security policeman asked me.
And they did not effect any arrest?
Nothing at all. Nothing happened. They were just standing there looking at them.
So this is what happened, and we've had journalists beaten by irate members of the New Patriotic Party from the Lembele constituency. That is what you saw on your screens. Godfred, it's good to have you.
Right.
Thank you so much. And we're grateful that you were able to risk your life sometimes to bring us the news. You are alive, and that's the most important thing. Right. Thank you so much. And the cameraman as well. But we are not going to leave this here. We're following up to this matter and reporting it to the appropriate authorities. As you heard already, some other media houses, the Ghana Web cameraman who suffered injury as a result of being hit by a security guard at the NPP headquarters, bleeding from the nose. It's been reported that the Nima police station would follow up this matter and speak to the NPP about this particular development, what they make of this particular story. Very, very sad development for media here in Ghana. But away from that, the fourth suspect accused of gang raping a young lady captured in a video that has gone viral has been arrested by police in Kumasi. The suspect, believed to be hiding in Accra, turned himself in Wednesday afternoon. His arrest comes as 3 other suspects arrested in connection with the alleged rape are remanded into police custody. by the Asokwa District Court to reappear on December 27, 2017. The court, presided by His Worship Peter Opon Bohen, is yet to take the plea of the teenagers, despite appearing twice in 2 days. This means their counsel cannot apply for bail for them, as they were remanded into prison custody for the second time in 2 days. Okay, so that's the situation there, and what we have actually been getting from there. They'll be spending Christmas behind bars. Eric Delano Alifo is Executive Director of Help Law Ghana. Mr. Delano, it's good to have you. Good afternoon to you. Thank you very much. The fourth suspect has been picked up by the police, but largely, what could be accounting for, in your view, the increasing cases of juvenile crime in this country?
That's a difficult one, and good afternoon to your listeners and your viewers. I think the psychologists and the social workers would best answer this question, but I do believe that there must be peer pressure, and then these young people are very anxious also to try various things. Once they are in school together, they've been watching all kinds of videos and movies on social media and elsewhere. And so I believe that they are just anxious. They are just trying things that they have not done before, and they are trying to be daring. That is what I suspect. But this kind of behavior can best be explained by social workers.
I see. Now, you point out two things: peer pressure and social media influence.
Yes.
To what extent could these two be influencing the misbehavior or the indiscipline we are seeing, and especially the various senior high schools?
To a very large extent, because even social media, I think also even influence adults like us. We watch all kinds of things now, and children are holding smartphones every day, and their parents are not able to control them. They don't know what they are viewing and what they are discussing with their friends. So I believe as they see these things, they imbibe some of these things, and they try their hands on them or practice them. Also in school, when you are in a group and your friends are discussing things they may have experienced or they may have heard from other places, and then they sound so nice to you, you may be tempted to try it, and you think that you'll never be caught. And perhaps they don't even know the implications or the consequences, even if they are caught. And so for them, it's just fun. They just want to have fun. So I think these things have to be watched.
Let's assess the juvenile justice system in this country now, especially when these things are coming up. Do we have an effective corrective or correction system that would ensure that when these juveniles have to face the law, they go through the correction process or the reformation process and come out much better than they went in?
I am afraid, in my view, we do not. I think the law is very adequate. The Juvenile System, Justice System Act, I think is very adequate. It provides for how they have to be treated differently from adults, and how they have to be punished. They are dealt with in a completely separate manner. But I don't think we have the facilities to take care of them as well as we should be doing. For instance, these young boys are still in custody. I think they've been to court a number of times, at least 2 times, yes. I know, and they are still in custody. And I'm not even too sure where they are being held, whether we have proper remand homes. We don't have proper remand homes, and we don't have places. They have to be separated from adults also, and so and their rights should be protected, and all of that. I don't think that we really have the facilities. We do have some facilities, though, but I don't think it's adequate. So, whereas the law, I believe, is very adequate, because when we do this type of laws, we also look at best practice from elsewhere, and so they will incorporate all of these things into the law. But it boils down to implementation and whether we have the facilities and the means to implement.
There's a fear that when people go or are remanded in prison, or actually sentenced to any term in prison, they come out much more hardened than they went in because of some of the things that goes on in the prisons. Yeah. How should we ensure going forward? As you have said, the problem is there. We don't have access to ensure an effective treatment of juveniles who have to face the law. Yeah. How do we improve on it to ensure that they don't go in there, pick up more dangerous, behaviors and come out more hardened than they went in?
I think it will take massive investment, and I don't want to be a pessimist, but it doesn't look to me like we are able to do that now. We can't, because it means the facilities at the prisons, almost all the prisons in Ghana are congested, and that also contributes, because when people go there, and some of these people were actually even innocent. They were just rushed through the system, and many of them did not even have lawyers, and quickly they were rushed and convicted. And so when they go there, some of them get so angry, and they look at the system they are in, and they think that, well, I didn't even do anything, and I had to end up going through this ordeal, and that hardens them, and then they also mingle with other people who are hardened criminals. So until we improve our prison facilities drastically, that's the word, until we are, and that kind of investment, I doubt if we are going to be able to do it. But, you know, we are making some efforts, piecemeal efforts, though, but I believe we are trying at it, and I think eventually we may be able to make some impact.
Mr. Health, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Eric Delanyo Alifo is the Executive Director of the Help Law Ghana, speaking to us there about the latest development. One person has been arrested in that gang rape that occurred in Kumasi, specifically Bantaman, the Ashanti region. Away from that, the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, suspended sittings again, the second in 3 days, over a persisting issue of absenteeism. Yesterday, by business time at 10 a.m. Wednesday, sitting had only 43 MPs on the floor of the House, when at least 91 MPs are needed to constitute a quorum. This comes on the heels of a report indicting some members of Parliament for being absent without permission.
Last Monday, only 18 MPs showed up for work, an improvement over the 7 MPs who were present in the chamber for the October 31 sitting, which was also suspended. Not even media attention on the poor attendance to the business of the House by members of Parliament served to boost attendance rate. A civil society group, Odikro, named 43 MPs for failing to attend their duties in Parliament for 15 consecutive sittings. Ministers of state who doubled as members of Parliament were the worst culprit of absenteeism without permission during the first and second sittings of the 7th Parliament. The ministers, including deputies, absented themselves from at least 15 sittings without the permission of the Speaker of Parliament. According to the report, the guilty MPs consisted of 18 ministers and 21 deputy ministers. Some of these MP ministers included Matthew Pokuprempe, Shelia Yokoboche, Dan Boche, Samuel Atachia, Catherine Afeku, and Ignatius Balfour. On party affiliations, Odikro found that 28 NDC MPs, representing 28% of the absentees, did not report to the House for at least 15 sittings without a written permission to the Speaker, beyond the limit that Article 97, Clause 1C of the Constitution allows.
All right, so Dr. Rashid Rahman is Executive Director for the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. He joins us on the telephone. Dr. Rashid Rahman, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alfred. How are you?
I'm doing well. I hope you are too. But before we get into this issue of absenteeism that is affecting the business of Parliament, we witnessed the exchange of mere fisticuffs in Parliament some 3 days ago between Carlos Ahenkra and Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, even though he did not respond to that provocation. Should the conduct of the 2 MPs involved be taken up by the Privileges Committee or any other committee in Parliament?
I am not too sure whether this, it's a matter that should be taken up by the Privileges Committee. And I think that it just borders on the integrity of the 2 honorable members involved, particularly maybe the one that is alleged to have uttered those words. I mean, I read the news online, and I was very disappointed. I mean, I think that if there is a disagreement and there is an issue, I think they should focus on the arguments and focus on the matter at hand, and not maybe try to drag their individual reputations into the mud.
I see.
I think it's becoming a problem. I think it's becoming a problem in this our parliament, and in fact, in our democracy. At any time there's an issue, instead of people focusing on the issue, I think they rather try to drag the party or history.
Absolutely, but Dr. Roman, if you say that this affects the integrity of the individual members, they are not distinct from the institution that they represent, and that's Parliament. Okay, so we must, in your view, do you think that Parliament can just let it go, or rather would want to check this so that the integrity of the House is maintained or respected by all 275 MPs?
Well, Alfred, you know, the reason why I'm skeptical about this call for the Privileges Committee to look at this, I think there were much bigger issues that Parliament should have risen up to and dealt with through the Privileges Committee, and we didn't see any action. So all I'm saying is that I think at the end of the day, it's about the integrity of these two individuals in this particular matter. And if Parliament wants to take it up, fair enough. But I think, for every member of Parliament, it's important that they are mindful of what they say. Because you remember this title, Honorable, has come up very recently.
Yes.
You call yourself Honorable, and I think everything about you must be honorable. The way you speak, what you say, because, you represent people, and you are a role model also for many young people in this country.
I see. Now, let's move on to the issue of absenteeism now. What do you think could be influencing the continuous occurrence of this case of MPs absenting themselves from the business of the House, which affects its effective discharge?
I think there are maybe a number of issues that contribute to this continued absenteeism that we see. Number one, I think it's our constitutional arrangement. Number two is the fact that if there is no consequence for the actions of members when they absent themselves without any sanctions, this is going to continue. There are other factors, but maybe let me just deal with these two factors. The first one, as I mentioned, is the constitutional arrangement that we have. This fusion between the executive and the legislature, I think it's not doing any good for our country. I think at the beginning, many people thought that it was bad for oversight. It was bad for lawmaking. But I think now we are also seeing that it's even worse for representation, because these people are paid to show up and represent you and I.
True.
They don't show up, and they claim ministerial duties and so on. There have been calls over the years for there to be some serious thinking about this constitutional arrangement and to move towards a separation between the two arms of government. The members of Parliament themselves are seriously against this separation for their own selfish reasons, because most of them want to go to Parliament not because they want to make a career as legislators, but mostly because they want to be called into ministerial appointments. And as I said, that affects their oversight role because they can't speak out. They can't criticize their own government. They can't call their colleagues, ministers, to order and so on. That affects lawmaking because they don't have enough time to do the real scrutiny that we need when it comes to looking at draft laws and approving them. And now they don't even represent us because if you wear the hat of a member of Parliament, I think one of your major responsibilities is to show up in the House and represent all of us. And the second factor, as I indicated, is this whole issue of no sanction. So members don't show up. If you are a minister, yes, the Constitution protects you because our arrangement allows it. So if you don't, and you are in your ministry doing ministerial work, well, by extension, we can say you are working for Ghana. But there are many of them that don't show up, and they don't have any excuse for not showing up, and nothing is done to them. In some countries, you lose your allowances, you lose part of your salary, and so on. In other countries, if you have this arrangement where ministers are members of parliament, you know, the sitting times are looked at critically, so that maybe instead of sitting at 10 a.m. in the morning, maybe they sit late afternoon, so that people can go and do their ministerial work, and then in the afternoon they come and do the parliamentary business. Okay.
Doc, thank you very much for your time this afternoon on this matter. I'm very grateful. That's Dr. Rashid Rahman. He's the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. We're back shortly with some business news here on Midday Live. Do stay. Back to Midday Live now. To business this afternoon. The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has achieved its tax revenue target of 34 billion cedis for 2017. In the last quarter of the year, the authority undertook regular engagement with taxpayers and stakeholders to increase voluntary compliance to take in and also rake in more revenue.
Ghana Revenue Authority in the first 4 months of this year failed to achieve its target. The authority projected a target of over 7.6 billion cedis from January to April. However, it managed to generate over 7.3 billion cedis, a shortfall of 215.8 million cedis. The Revenue Authority's target for the year 2017 was 34 billion cedis. At the Festival of Nine Lessons and Carol in the authority had increased the number of tax audits, external visits and inspection of taxpayers' businesses to retrieve outstanding taxes. It also undertook regular engagement with taxpayers and stakeholders to increase voluntary compliance.
The very first time I was introduced to staff, I made a statement that we are good, we can be better, while aiming at being the best. This year has been 10 years. We've gone through a lot of things. I want to congratulate staff that despite the challenges that we've gone through this year, especially for a very tight target, our performance this year is the best in the last 5 years.
He encouraged the officers of the authority to do their best in the years ahead.
We are the center of Ghana's development. And so we should look at ourselves as a dignified group who need to be respected, whose acts must be well defined.
In 2016, GRA was charged to mobilize tax revenue of 29 billion cedis, but it was able to collect only 27 billion cedis, recording a shortfall of 1.2 billion cedis. Very Reverend Paul Edu Jr. charged the staff of GRA to abide by their code of integrity, fairness and service to the nation.
As you enter the new year, I pray that God the Holy Spirit will take absolute control of your life, your desires, and grant you the strength to say no when someone comes to you and asks you to cut corners so that the person can evade taxes.
All right, so after an engagement with the Energy Ministry yesterday, government has decided to pilot the cylinder recirculation policy alongside the LPG Marketers Associations as well. And I've been joined in studio by Bernardo Redo, who is the Public Relations Officer for the LPG Marketers Associations. Good to have you. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you for having me.
So what exactly was the conclusion yesterday after the meeting?
Well, we would say that is one that we're happy and very content with. We had issues with the policy. I mean, we had raised issues as the policy going to wipe us out and destroy our businesses, and the time frame for the policy to be implemented. So we had all these issues, and we had wanted an audience with the minister. But yesterday, thankfully, we met him, and we raised these issues right before him. He was not alone there at the meeting. There was the MPA present, the people at the Energy Ministry, and other people who matter actually in terms of energy in the country. So we raised our issues, and the minister assured us that no business is going to be destroyed, and that if we are to even implement the LPG, the current market operators will drive the policy implementation, and that our issue something that we are really happy about and we welcome it. And so we are going back to the implementation table to ensure that all the things that the minister said at the meeting yesterday would be implemented. And the minister also gave us the assurance that he's giving enough powers to the MPA to implement our what we wanted and to make sure that all our recommendations are implemented. So it was a fruitful meeting.
When is the piloting of this project expected to start?
Well, per the time frame as to the current proposal we have, we are supposed to start probably by the end of the year 2018, where the full implementation will take place. So we expect that before the beginning of 2019, we should have a pilot process so that Ghanaians will be able to decide as to which of the modules they would resort to.
So you're going to be engaging the committee set up for this particular
Yes,
policy?
Actually, we are on the committee. We are going to make sure that whatever recommendation, whatever request we went with the minister, which have been approved, are part of the policy implementation. So we are going to go back. We are going to lead and drive the policy, the new policy. We have been given the mandate, we have been given the opportunity to help the implementers, which is the MPA, to drive this new policy of government.
Thank you. But so this one is on a different note. During this Christmas period, are we going to have LPG to buy? Because you're threatening to go on strike.
We want to assure the entire nation that there wouldn't be any shortage. There will be constant supply of LPG. Any outlet has a lot of stock to distribute to Ghanaians over the period. And Ghanaians should be rest assured that we are going to serve them with a lot of gas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grateful. Bernardo Redo is the PRO for the LPG Markets Association. Back with some sports news to stay.
Thanks for staying with us here. My name is Anako Jafre with a sports update here on Midday Live. Let's get into the details. On the Ghana Premier League side, Bechem United have been fined 105,000 Ghana cedis for misconduct by the Disciplinary Committee of the Ghana Football Association. The decision was announced by the GFA on Wednesday after the Disciplinary Committee sat on the case. According to the ruling of the Disciplinary Committee, Bechem United was found guilty of 3 charges of misconduct and breaches of the GFA's general regulations. The breaches occurred on October 22, 2017, on the final day of the season, when Bechem United took on Accra Great Olympics in a match with a huge effect on the survival chances of the two teams. According to the ruling, Bechem United fans were said to have insulted and intimidated match officials at the entrance of the Bechem Park, plus denying TV coverage crew. Bechem United have 14 days to pay the fine, and in the event of failure, the team will forfeit all matches sanctioned by the GFA. On to our next story now. After missing out on the World Cup, the Black Stars will have to make the final of AFCON 2019 and win it at all costs in order to rekindle the love for football in the country. Former Ghana defender Samuel Oseko says Ghana can only win the Nations Cup with great commitment from all stakeholders.
With the appointment of Kwesi Appiah as head coach of the Black Stars, the expectations on his doorsteps were huge, as they were virtually impossible. His first task was to guide the Black Stars to the World Cup. Failure to do so meant a new objective was in the offing. Appiah has to be the first coach to win the African Cup of Nations for the Black Stars since the 80s, and managing to do so would make him Ghana's most successful coach in the modern era. But it won't come easy, with a team in seeming disarray at the moment and devoid of confidence after missing out on the World Cup for the first time since 2006. Appiah's job will even get tougher. And former Black Stars and Bayern Munich defender Samuel Oseko reckons it will take more than the efforts of the head coach to seal a title success at the 2019 tournament.
We're counting 1, 2, 3, and then 10. It's not done anywhere. We need a plan. It's about a system. It's about a concept. How can we have a strategy to build a nation in terms of football? Football in this country, so far as I'm concerned, is not growing. It's dying slowly. And if we don't take care, it's going to be very difficult for us to qualify sometimes in African Cup of Nations.
Ghana have been AFCON runners-up 3 times in the last decade, still hoping to add to their 4 trophies.
And with Accra Hearts of Oak set to face rivals Kumasi Asante Kotoko in an off-season cup final as the second leg of the Ghana at 60 years on match takes place in Kumasi, PRO of Accra Hearts of Oak, Kwame Opareado, says it is the right time to play the Porcupine Warriors.
Hearts of Oak has accepted that defeat we suffered to Kotoko in Tamale, but we know that the spirit of the team will not sit back and accept another defeat. We are already going into this game with a 2-goal advantage. Our aim is to go back to Accra with the trophy. And for that, I can assure every Phobian, with the words of the head coach, this game will be much more competitive than we saw in Tamale. It's another opportunity for him and the squad to prove to everybody that this is Hearts of Oak. We don't fall twice on a trot. We'll come to Kumasi on Sunday, make sure that our supporters, the followers of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, everybody will enjoy good football. At the end of it all, it is a matter of peace.
Now let's take you to England, where the semi-final draw for the Carabao EFL Cup has been completed and Bristol City will take on Manchester City. So in this game, it could go anywhere. Remember that Bristol City did beat Manchester United last night to qualify to the semi-final. So anything can happen in this one. And then there is the London derby between Chelsea and Arsenal in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup in England. And that's how we wrap up sports here on Midday Live. My name is Nana Kojafe. Thanks very much for watching. Always a pleasure serving you. International news is up next with Alfred. Stay with us.
And entertainment this afternoon, Spider Lee Entertainment signed rapper T-Flow on Wednesday morning, held a press conference listening session for his latest album, Flow Education. The 8-track album, according to the hip-hop artist, is to showcase lyricism and celebrate depth in music. He spoke to Usurai.
Okay, let the pose I did in front of biceps. No flow you basic, but then the flow more flow you creative. Obiase dog, you sick, back at them a man your rabies, wet play, no debating, new word, flow education.
It's been a little over 6 years after hitting the limelight, and T-Flow, real name Lukman Beidu, is still rapping his way to the top. The Fancy rapper started off the year releasing singles to excite fans. The Flow Education project is T-Flow's answer to calls for him to release an album.
Going back and forth in the studio trying to change one song, change one beat, the producer has to send to this person to review and back and forth. That took some time, but thankfully we are here. Flow Education is just trying to showcase lyricism for the public to actually embrace. We're giving you real rap.
The 8-track album features songs like Shine, Enter featuring Edem, and Outside, which has Walasi on it. Another song, State of the Art, highlights the challenges faced by upcoming talents and calls for a paradigm shift. T-Flow's manager, IB, thinks the EP album is an example of a classic, noting its lyrical content will remain relevant decade to come.
The production is not the kind of thing that comes in 3 months and leave away. People are going to groove with it for a very long time, probably eternity. And in 10 years, somebody can just pull his machine and play Shine and say this is way back 10 years ago, T-Flow music. It's not, this is not going to definitely pass away in 3 months, no.
Showbiz blogger Elon Benny is convinced when supported, Ghanaian artists can rub shoulders with some of the world's finest.
It's about time, people jump on board and support talents and invest in them, because when you invest in them and they are able to sell their music or their content, that's where you get a lot more return. I believe we can grow musicians of international repute from Ghana here as well, so it's all about the support.
T-Flow is expected to embark on a series of tours to interact and bond with fans.
Make my mind agree. I say make my mind agree.
Yeah, that's Flow Education there. That's it for the Midday Live this afternoon. We came to you live for news up here at this hour. There's a lot more in our subsequent bulletins. Stay with us here on TV3. My name is Alfred Okanse. On behalf of the rest of the team, do enjoy the very best of the rest of the day.